Ja, ein paar ganz inspirierende Voten. Und was haben wir eben von Armin gehört? Wir leben in einer turbulenten Welt. Übrigens, die Welt wird immer turbulenter. Vor 5 Minuten hat Premierministerin Theresa May ihren Rücktritt bekannt gegeben. Nächsten Freitag, am 7. Juni, ist es soweit. Was uns natürlich auch hilft für die Gespräche heute Nachmittag, das sollte... Wenn ich es nicht besser wüsste, würde ich sagen, die Organisatoren des CEF haben das sehr, sehr gut vorbereitet. Also wir freuen uns auf eine gute Diskussion heute Nachmittag. Theresa May zeigt, manchmal muss man auch Nein sagen im Leben, um sich die Zukunft ein bisschen besser zu gestalten. Aber wir sind immer noch beim Ja-Code, beim Optimist-Code. Und wenn Sie sich mal überlegen, wie viel Mal im Leben haben Sie Ja gesagt und das hat Ihr Leben tatsächlich grundsätzlich verändert. Nehmen Sie Donna Carpenter zum Beispiel. Die US-Amerikanerin war am Neujahrsabend 1981 in einer Bar in Vermont. Und da hat sie Ja gesagt, bewusst Ja gesagt zu einem Gespräch mit einem Mann, den sie da kennengelernt hat, Jake Burton. Einer der Pioniere der Snowboard-Gesellschaft, der Snowboard-Gemeinde, und seit 1977 macht er seine Burton Snowboards. Die beiden haben sich offenbar gut verstanden, denn sie haben kurz darauf nochmals Ja gesagt. Sie haben geheiratet 1981 und seitdem gehen sie ihren Weg gemeinsam. Und zwar nicht nur privat, sondern auch wirtschaftlich. Donna Carpenter hat angefangen ganz unten in der Manufaktur. Sie hat auch die Kundentelefon-Hotline bedient und mittlerweile ist sie ganz oben angelangt. Sie ist CEO von Burton seit 2016, auch weil ihr Mann zwischenzeitlich schwer erkrankt ist. Die beiden führen als Tandem, als Duo eines der großen Unternehmen der Snowboard-Industrie, einer Industrie, die auch mit vielen Herausforderungen leben muss. Wie sie das meistert und wie sie die Zukunft sieht und wie sie mit Optimismus diese Zukunft angehen will, das wollen wir uns jetzt anhören. Please, a very warm welcome to Donna Carpenter. Hi, very good to have you.
Thank you. Oh, it's a lot of people, a lot of languages too. So bear with me in English here. So I've come to a conference themed Yes, the Optimist Code, to tell you about the power of no. At Burton, we love no. We always have. No lights a fire under us. No gets us out of the bed in the morning and motivates us to work harder. As you've heard probably before, we've been referred to as the rebels or the adolescents or the teenagers of the ski industry. And for those parents out there, you know what happens when you tell a teenager no. They just dig in harder and do it anyway. You know, I was actually thinking about this. I was thinking that to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be a teenager at heart. Because if I've learned anything from Jake and other successful entrepreneurs, is that nothing motivates them more than being told, no, you can't. In 1977, when Jake set out to create a business around a new sport that looked a lot like surfing on snow, he heard a lot of no's. No, this won't work. No, you don't know what you're doing. That part was kind of true. No, people won't want to do that on snow. And for many years after that, the long-term survival of our company was not a sure bet. I'm not sure you would have bet on us. Not many people did bet on us. As I told Dominic, if I hadn't been so young, naive, and in love, I don't think I would have bet on us. And that really was because there were a couple of no's, a couple of factors. First, there was an existing ski industry that said no. Snowboards are too dangerous. Riders are too reckless. Skiers will never allow it. The ski resorts wouldn't let us on the mountain, and the existing ski shops said, thanks, but no thanks. I remember the U.S. Trade Association, the Ski Industry Association, literally, physically said no to us at our first trade show in 1984. We were there, we had a friend with a separate company who had a booth, so maybe it wasn't quite official that we were there, but a little Außerordnung, but we were hustling and we were trying to get dealers interested in our product. And the U.S. Ski Industry Association sent us, even before the show started, they sent us a notice that said, you are not part of this industry, you do not belong here, and you have to leave now. And they sent these big union guys, these big union trade show guys, to physically remove the product from the booth. I remember Jake having a tug of war with this guy. We won, we stayed. We were determined. Shortly after that, we were told no by most major ski manufacturers here in the Alps. No, we won't make your product. At the time, snowboards were a piece of wood with a rope on the end and a couple straps for your feet. They were never meant to be ridden at a ski area. That wasn't our vision. They were meant to be ridden on the back hills. But Jake, starting around the mid-'80s, said, what if we steal skiing's technology? What if we find somebody who can make this with fiberglass, wood cores, steel edges? At that time, all ski production was here in the Alps. We couldn't afford to come over. We were in major startup mode in the US, but my parents invited us on a winter vacation in the Aalborg. And Jake took that opportunity to literally drive around and visit, I think it was 6 factories, and ask, will you make this? First 5 times, he was told, no, we're not going to completely change our tooling to make this. No, you're kind of out of your mind. So after 5 or 6 rejections, most people would have given up, taken the hint, turned around, and had a nice vacation in the Aalborg, right? But at midnight, during a snowstorm, Jake came to his last stop, Kyle Ski, outside of Salzburg, Austria. They had to wake up the owner's daughter to translate. And Herr Kyle said, yeah, I think I can make that. 30 years later, Kyle is the largest single producer of snowboards in the world, producing exclusively for us. So sometimes if you push hard enough through the no's, you do get to a yes. The other big no we faced, as do many other startups, and I think there are people from startups, I met some nice people from a couple startups last night, was with the banks. No, we won't lend you money. Fortunately, Burton has never had any long-term debt or outside investors, and I think that's been critical to our success. But given the nature of our business, we do have intense seasonal borrowing needs, and our very survival depended on getting that funding. In the beginning, as a rapidly growing startup, we quickly outgrew our local banks. We were growing too fast for them. But the big banks, the New York, Boston-based banks, thought we were a fad, a trend, like the hula hoop. Or something. It was tough. It was probably some of our toughest times, and I'm going to apologize in advance to the bank sponsor of this event, but as my first mentor told me as a fellow entrepreneur, never trust the banks. They're like a bad boyfriend. They will wine and dine you when things are all good, and they are out of there when things get tough. So, not only did we survive the no's, we thrived because of them. Fast forward to today, thanks primarily to our athletes and how fun the sport is. There are millions of snowboarders riding at resorts around the world, and the sport is growing again. Snowboarding is one of the most watched sports at the Winter Olympics. And just a prediction, snowboarding is going to kick skiing's ass in China, the industry's fastest growing market for the foreseeable future. You can bet on that. There will be more snowboarders in China than skiers. Burton, the brand, has been in business for 42 years. We're profitable, we're global, and Jake and I still own every share. Things have changed, but our mindset hasn't. As the company and the sport grew, there were times when being told, no, that's not possible, fueled two major cultural shifts in our company. The first around women's leadership, and the second around sustainability. 15 years ago, Jake and I realized that less than 10% of our global leadership were women. It hadn't always been that way, and we knew we had to change it. I think Jake knew at a gut entrepreneurial level that we were not going to thrive, we were not going to be innovative, we were not going to attract the best talent without diversity. So we fully committed. I launched the Burton Women's Leadership Initiative, and we made it our mission to develop women at Burton, to recruit talented women, and to influence the industry to follow our lead. Today, 6 of our 12 most global senior leaders are women. Think about that. My team is 50-50. Judging by this audience, I don't think there are a lot of CEOs out there who can say that. This is what we call a dude fest. Burton will call this a dude fest. Most senior teams have one woman, usually human resources, right? The token woman. Well, at Burton, the head of human resources is a man. The head of our charitable organization is a man. But our chief marketing officer, our head of strategy, our head of direct-to-consumer, our general manager of Japan, which is very unusual, and the general manager of North America are all women. Our board of advisors is made up of 2 women and 3 men, and I've been CEO for 4 years. Don't get me wrong, none of this was easy, and there were and are a lot of no's along the way. No, women shouldn't get special treatment. No, it's going to change our culture. We won't be so cool anymore. No, you won't be able to recruit the right talent. But these no's just made me and still make me more determined. Becoming a sustainable company was another situation where we had to examine everything and turn no we can't into yes we can. 8 years ago, we took a serious look at sustainability, at our own supply chain, our products, our office culture, and we decided to make big changes. It was overwhelming. Again, there were a lot of no's along the way. No, it's too expensive. It's too complicated. No, your consumer doesn't care. No, it's just greenwashing. No, it's just a lost cause. But that made us even more determined to say, yes, we can, to go from behind the curve to becoming a leader. In the past 8 years, we've made incredible progress despite or maybe because of the no's. Now we're known industry-wide for our sustainability program and leadership. Just a couple of examples. 91% of Burton's clothing and outerwear product hitting the market this fall are Blue Sign certified. Blue Sign is a great Swiss standard limiting toxic chemicals. We are far outpacing all of our competitors, even the ones who say they're so sustainable, and have a plan to be the first company to hit 100%. We are a participating company in the Fair Labor Association, which has the highest standards, the highest international standards, ensuring safe conditions, ethical treatment, and fair labor practices in all of our factories. Burton partners with BICEP, Businesses for Innovative Climate and Energy Policy, and Protect Our Winters to advocate for stronger climate policy. So sometimes no is more powerful than yes. Personally, I know that overcoming powerful no's isn't easy. So this is what helps me. All the science tells us that the strongest, most successful people and companies are built on a single fundamental character trait: resilience. If you look up the word resilience in the dictionary, it's defined as the ability to recover quickly from difficulties and change, to adapt, to be agile, to go through, over, and around obstacles, to take no as a challenge. What I believe is that if you're working on something that doesn't matter to you, it's easy to take no for an answer. It's easy to give up. It's easy not to be resilient. But when it's bigger than you, when it's about a greater community and a greater purpose, sometimes you just can't say no. Pushing through is easier when you're working on things that you love and when you know what you believe in and what your values are. Snowboarding is our passion. Gender equality and the sustainability of the sport have always been central to our values, mission, and purpose. The Burton U.S. Snowboarding Championships, the preeminent annual event in snowboarding for the last 37 years, has always had equal prize money for men and women. Fast forward to today, we just made headlines this week for announcing the sports industry's most progressive maternity and post-maternity policy for professional female athletes. They shouldn't have to choose between their career and having a family. We also got to take a little jab at Nike, which I like. And they deserve. So gender equality has always mattered to Burton. The sustainability of the sport has always mattered to us. And over the years, we've put our money where our mouth is. So if you want to lean into the theme of this conference to find your yes, or the courage to fight through the no's, it has to start with meaning, passion, and purpose. Work on something that matters, and you'll be surprised at how resilient you can be. To wrap things up, I have a couple of slides I want to share. As I said, our company and our culture were built on hearing no and saying, oh yeah, watch us. This spirit, this sense of resilience has gotten us through a lot of hard times. We've had to fight for acceptance at ski areas. We've had to fight for gender equality. We've had to fight for climate change, to get some action on climate change. And we've had to fight through some pretty tough economic times, as well as some personal times. So, whoops, that's not it. There it is. I think because of this, we've had a long-standing tradition at Burton of giving the middle finger for the opposite of what you would think. For us, it's a sign of love, respect, and community. I know it's a sign of our resilience and that spirit, our way of saying we won't take no for an answer, our way of saying, oh yeah, watch us. This photo was taken 5 years ago at our headquarters in Vermont. It was organized spontaneously when the company learned that Jake was in the intensive care unit, fully paralyzed, temporarily, but fully paralyzed for many months by an autoimmune disorder. For several weeks, he was about as close to death as any human can get, and then he faced a daunting recovery after that. The employees, on their own, took this photo, blew it up, added the caption, and I hung it at the end of Jake's hospital bed. He would point it out to every visitor who came into the room. I know it inspired his full recovery. As you can see, our other international offices quickly followed suit. Europe, Canada, Australia, Japan. Japan has a hard time doing it, you see. They like... but at least they're happy. They're smiling. Yeah. Jake is fully recovered now, back to snowboarding 100 days a year, but these photos now hang right outside my office to remind me of the amazing, resilient spirit of my community and company. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Donna, if I could ask you here for...
Should I change it?
Let's leave them up there.
Leave them up there.
I assume the ones who didn't flick the fingers, they got fired, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have any...
Oh, no.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for giving us that message also. That saying no sometimes can be something very valuable as well. And I can assure you, I was looking, no bankers or men have left the building during this speech. That's the good news here.
You said be provocative, right, Dominic?
Absolutely. So I'll be provocative and start with the challenges of the industry first. You talked about it in your speech as well. When we talk about sustainability, climate change, some might claim that's probably the biggest disruptor in your industry. When we think about 10, 20, 30 years ahead, we might not have any snows on the mountains anymore. How much does that worry you?
Oh, it really worries us. I mean, like I said, we've always been more committed to the long-term sustainability of the sport versus short-term profits. 30 years ago, that didn't mean climate change. We didn't know, right? So I think it's definitely, I think it's the largest single issue facing us, period. Mm-hmm.
That's the challenge that comes from, let's say, from nature. Another one that you have to face is, we can clearly tell. You started out as a rebel, and if you allow me saying so, we still feel a little rebellious spirit in you. I don't know whether I read it wrong, but some borders don't follow that path. I mean, we know that, some start on a snowboard, then they get older, they're not teenagers anymore, they start skiing, they stay with skiing, and this is kind of reflected, at least in Switzerland, in the numbers as well. If you look at,
Switzerland's the worst country in the whole world.
Okay, good. Now let's just put it...
No, really. You have the lowest participation rate for snowboarding of any country.
And that's reflected in the numbers, because 10 years ago, I think it was 110,000 boards.
But I'm here
Last
to
year
change
was
that.
10,000, because you just moved to Switzerland,
I just moved to Switzerland to change that.
How can you change that?
My new mission.
You have to force them, maybe. Does that mean
How do you change it? Two things.
Yes.
One is we have a new technology called Step-On that was in research and development for over 4 years. We run the R&D department for the whole industry, by the way. And it, I think when you Google snowboarding and learning to snowboard, you see people sitting on their butts.
Elder men like me who don't get up anymore.
And well, my husband, that was his thing. It was like 5 or 6 years ago, and he was snowboarding with our head engineer, and he said, dude, I'm almost 60. I've been bending over for 40 years. I don't want to do it anymore, but I want the same performance as my buckle bindings, and we did it. And we can't make enough of this product now. It sells out every time we sell it. So I think that's really going to change things. The other thing is kids. We can now get kids as young as 2 years, and I'm seeing a baby boom everywhere I go. people, the first generation of snowboarders are now having kids, and they want to give that gift of snowboarding to their kids. And Burton is the only manufacturer really making kids' product.
Have you ever been attacked by the community as well? Because you have transformed the business a little bit. I mean, you're doing clothes, you're doing camping equipment, for example, as well. I mean, have you ever heard that, oh, come on, you sold out and you're not that cool anymore? I mean, is there a risk of...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you get haters.
And what do you tell them?
You saw it.
It's a good answer for everything. Let me, that's a difficult transition, what I'm doing now, because I'm talking about President Trump now. You kind of flipped the finger to him as well. You produced a Dump Trump board.
We did.
You, as I just said, you moved from the... The announcement alone gives you an applause. You moved to Switzerland also with the reason that you said, I couldn't live in that United States anymore. I don't know whether that's true. But I'm afraid to ask that question. What winds you up so much? Because you could say, as an American company...
Are you kidding? What winds me up?
As an American company, you might say, maybe with his trade ideas, maybe with the protectionism, that could, in a way,
but it's also
it
was a slap in the face for everything we stood for: gender equality, sustainability, immigration. It was a slap in the face for all of that. I mean, we really did come to Europe for the year to immerse ourselves in the European market, but we do like to say it was to get away from Trump. Mm-hmm. But I mean, everything that we stand for, has been gutted.
How's the Dump Trump?
Well, what happened was we used it. We made one for Jake and one for me, and then we used it to raise money over social media. We ended up giving $25,000 to protect our winners and $25,000 to Camber Outdoors, which promotes women's leadership in the outdoor industry.
Let me get to that.
So, that was the point, that we could give back to the things that mattered that they're destroying.
When we talk about the women leadership and diversity, equality, something that's very close to your heart, I know that. And you kind of alluded to it that 15 years ago, you both had that kind of aha moment.
Shit moment.
What was it? Oh, shit moment. You're quite a straight talker, I must say. What exactly was it? What was that moment, that one thing that told you things got to change?
We were sitting in a meeting of 25 global directors, and there were 2 women in the room. And like I said, Jake, I think he knew at a gut entrepreneurial level, whoa, this is not going to bode well for our future. And I kind of went, oh my God, you're right. And he said, you've got to take the lead and do something here.
In that regard, are you for quotas, for example, as well?
No, you sound like the guys at the company. Well, you're going to put in quotas.
So sorry.
Yeah. No, we're not going to put in quotas.
Is this the right moment to tell you that I ski and I don't snowboard?
Yeah, no, it's not the right moment.
I knew it. My knees don't...
What was the question?
The quota question, but you don't have to.
Oh, the quota question. No, what we did, this is very interesting because I think that this is something all companies can do right away very quickly, is that when we had a leadership position open, we said to the hiring manager, you have to have a female finalist for the position. So when we would put out, product manager position, 99.9% of the resumes would be from men. So we would say to the hiring manager, you've got to go out and find a qualified woman. You don't have to hire her, but you have to have a woman who's equally as qualified. That means they have to go out and work. It's harder than to take, resumes. And that really worked. That really helped move the needle because if, chances are if you're interviewing, half the time you'll hire the woman.
Mm-hmm. You're in that regard. You're probably the best role model for the whole company as well. You were president of the company already, and then when your husband got sick, you were kind of almost forced or pushed into the CEO position. And we have to say, at one time he could barely move his right hand. I think now he's
he couldn't move his whole body.
Exactly.
He couldn't open his eyes.
What did that do to you?
You know, time stopped for me. I mean, it puts it all in perspective. And my senior team, for the first time ever, really had to step up and perform without us. And, you know, like I said, it just puts it all in perspective, what's
Was
important.
it hard to stay optimist during that time?
Yeah, but it was my job. That was my job. And it was hard with the company. I mean, I had to stand in front of the company, 500 people at headquarters, and say, he's fully paralyzed. Don't worry, he's going to be all good. It's going to be good. But yeah, so I had to stay strong for my kids. I had to stay strong for the company. And I had to stay strong for him. He didn't believe he was going to survive. The doctor said, you will survive this. But he didn't believe it because everything told him he wasn't.
Well, thankfully he recovered.
Yes.
He's back to what, 100 days
Yep.
per year on the board. That's the goal every year. You're to 80, I think, right?
Something like that.
Something like that.
It's not as sexy as 100.
And to and to wrap it up, you did the most rebellious move that one can imagine. You moved to Switzerland, and
Yeah.
you're living in Zurich now.
Yes.
Now some may claim it is a cool place, but it's. Is it really your place?
Yeah, you know, we feel at home in Switzerland. Everywhere you go, there's a snowboard community and people, right? Really.
Yeah.
They're former athletes, photographers, writers. You know, you have an instant community. So we really feel at home there. And you know, I'm there so that I can visit as many markets as possible, too. I mean, since January, I've been to 12 countries. And so that's part of it, too.
Final question. You talked about it, China as one of the
Yeah.
big markets of the future.
Yeah.
If we wrap it up by, if we look 10 or 20 years ahead, are we still snowboarding? I guess the question is yes. And who will be snowboarding in the world? I mean, would you mainly talk about China, or do you have other markets in mind again?
Oh, I mean, I think that there's growth to be had in different markets. I mean, for example, in the US, California had a 4-year drought where they had no snow. Now they're coming back, so we're seeing growth in the California market. We're seeing growth here, for example, in Scandinavia. But China's going to be bigger than all of Europe in, I give it 3 years.
We'll see what the future brings. We want to thank you very much, Donna Carpenter, for a very outspoken speech.
Thank you.
And I would ask the people to say goodbye with their middle fingers, but let's keep it with an applause. Donna Carpenter, thank you very, very much. Thank you so much. So, und das gab uns hoffentlich jetzt Energie für was noch kommt. Ich entlasse Sie jetzt in die Breakout-Sessions.